Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about the Night King's fate in the final season of Game of Thrones. There are many spoilers regarding the leader of the White Walkers, so let's just jump into it. In the Season 8 premiere we will not see the Night King. He's confirmed to be absent in episode 1 by the cast lineup for that very episode. Even though we'll not see the Night King in Season 8 premiere, we'll see his army of the dead which will attack and destroy castles of House Sombra and House Karstark, just as Jon said they would if the wall falls. One must wonder, if the Night King's army is attacking castles in episode 1, how come the Night King, their leader, is not with them? That's because the Night King has other plans. It's the Night King's master plan. I already talked about this a few times in the past, but what that master plan is, it's basically the Night King attacking the north from two fronts, but to achieve that he's got to go south. All the main characters in Game of Thrones, as well as all of us fans, expect a great battle to be fought in the north, and the enemies to attack from the north, but the Night King will surprise them. The North will indeed face a 100,000 strong army of the White Walkers and their whites in episode 1, with the two castles falling, but the Night King will fly Viserion to the far south across the whole Westeros and will raise the dead, thus the entire continent will be facing a horde of whites overnight. Basically, the Night King will be creating a huge army in the south while his current army attacks minor castles in the north. We'll get to see the Night King in episode 2, but when the things will really go down is in episode 3. The Night King's current army that numbers over 100,000 whites and White Walkers will come from the north, and the Night King himself with a new army of the dead that he's been creating south during the first 2 episodes of the final season will come from the south. Winterfell will have to fight on 2 fronts, and not only that, but the Night King will attack from the inside as well, through a hidden passage. As we learned from Mr. Luwin in Season 1, there are hidden passageways built through the crypts of Winterfell, so the Lords of Winterfell could escape in emergency. Mr. Luwin actually offered Theon to use it to escape Winterfell and join the Night's Watch when Ramsay came. That hidden passage might even be this tunnel Arya is passing through in the official Game of Thrones Season 8 teaser. They are basically surrounded. If you have been following Game of Thrones Season 8 news and leaked photos, you know that this big battle for Winterfell is set to take place in Season 8 Episode 3, as has been confirmed by the actor who plays the Night King, Vladimir Furdik. Furdik let the news slip during a fan convention in Hungary. He said and spoiled in the 3rd episode of the last season, there's a battle that creators intended to be a historic moment in television. Almost the full episode will be about the battle, it'll take about 1 hour. Furdik states that they filmed this battle for 3 months in the wind and the rain outdoors, and then for another month in a huge studio, which makes this far and away the most labor-intensive battle sequence in the show's history, and therefore in the history of TV. I can tell you that there will be no shortage of surprises in Season 8, Furdik continues. There will be a lot of dragons. The Night King will return, and in the season the biggest battle for the throne will be completed. Entertainment Weekly's cover story from a few months back gave us an inside look into the final Game of Thrones season through the eyes of James Hibberd. It's shaping up to be what probably almost certainly is the longest consecutive battle sequence in cinema history. Hibberd said and continued with, they've looked to try and find other ones out there, like the one in the Two Towers in The Lords of the Rings, which is about 40 minutes, and in the movie 13 Assassins, which was also around 40 minutes. This is going to be longer than 40 minutes. It's pretty nuts. HBO has also gone all in on sets for Season 8, building the Winterfell set to make it as close to real castle as possible. According to Hibberd, the crew was up to the challenge. They massively expanded the Winterfell set. You can wander around, point the camera at any direction, and it shows more Winterfell. One of the directors pointed out that even in a big budget Marvel or Star Wars movie, they usually only build what the actors are gonna stand directly in front of, and fill in the rest with green screen. But for this set and a few others as well, they built it as 360 degrees set, so you don't have to fill it with special effects. You don't have to favor one particular angle. You can have cameras follow people around. You can do unusual angles and come up with different things on the day of shooting. So it allows a lot more creativity and it helps the actors. No acting required. They're running around these sets fighting with fake blood on snow, snow flying everywhere, torches burning, fires and smoke. It feels like you're right there. To film the Battle of Winterfell, HBO built an enormous green screen in order to bring their vision of an epic battle to life. So who was gathered there for this weeks-long shoot? First we got the Unsullied, and the Unsullied are not the only people from Essos who are part of the Battle of Winterfell. They're also the Dothraki riders. Finally, there's also a shot of what we think is a Northern army, and also there's a trebuchet on set. Multiple people will wield flaming swords in the battle against the dead. Out of all the characters we know, Beric Dondarrion is the one most closely associated with the flaming sword. Seems like Dondarrion shared a trick with a few people. Ghost will have a fair amount of screen time and will most definitely fight at this battle. This battle is directed by Miguel Sapochnik, the guy behind some of the best episodes of Game of Thrones like Hardhome, Winds of Winter and Battle of the Bastards. Talking about this huge battle for Winterfell, it's brutal, said star Peter Dinklage Tyrion Lannister. It makes the Battle of the Bastards look like a theme park. Writing earlier about this historic sequence, James Hibbert called it wall-to-wall action and detailed how it jumps between the stories of several different characters. What we also know for a fact is that the winner will not fall in Winterfell. The Night King will win this battle. It'll be a huge defeat for the living. Winterfell is on fire, the Night King has won. As you might expect, this battle will leave many dead. Check out this image of corpses strewn across the ground outside the Winterfell set at Moneyglass. We can see what looks like a field strewn with the bodies to the left of the castle, including some that look like horses. Meanwhile, we also have images of a pile of body part props outside the castle and of blood left on the castle walls. As with Moneyglass, the ground at Megremorn Quarry was littered with corpses. Unlike at Moneyglass, someone was able to get up close and personal with the bodies. There are all kinds of corpses. The most surprising corpses were the ones bearing the Kraken sigil of House Greyjoy. Did not expect the Greyjoys to be part of this battle, but if Theon already saved Yara by episode 3, then I don't see where else they would be. However, it could also be that Euron surprise attacked Winterfell with the Golden Company, either before or after the Night King attacked it. Anyway, this is more in line with what I was expecting. These skeletal corpses could be the bodies of whites, or they could be people flesh fried by dragonfire. Next up, corpse blobs. HBO likely spreads these things all over the battlefield and covers them in some snow. From distance they look like discrete corpses, rather than a bunch of bodies affixed to one plate. In this tease, the mist frosts the direwolf marker over as well as the marker for Dany's Unsullied forces, but unfortunately the Northern Army and the Unsullied are not going to be the only casualties for the living. It is confirmed that most of the Dothraki will fall to the Night King as well, and then shortly after be brought back to life by the White Walkers to basically act as their minions. Here you can see the Dothraki Whites riding on horseback. What we cannot say for a fact, although it's being hinted by the official tease, is that Dany will at some point burn her former Dothraki loyalists. Here we can see the Dothraki marker being burned. Does that foreshadow Dany burning the Dothraki that fell during the battle for Winterfell? Maybe. After this epic battle of Winterfell, the Night King will conquer the north, and the living, or at least what's left of them, will have to retreat south and once again parley with Cersei and Euron, which gets us to another confirmed event. It's not only the living who will go south, the Night King will as well. Jon Snow will return to King's Landing in episode 4, the Night King an episode after. The final major spoiler we know is taking place in the final season of Game of Thrones is the Night King burning down the capital, King's Landing, using his dragon Viserion. As some of you may know, for the final season of Game of Thrones, the production, for the very first time, instead of filming King's Landing scenes in Dubrovnik, they decided to make a huge King's Landing set in Belfast and film most of the scenes there. Why did they build city buildings to resemble the city they used for King's Landing all these years, instead of filming at actual medieval old towns as they usually do? That's because Game of Thrones is not allowed to burn cities to the ground. As construction for King's Landing set focused on polishing the city walls, inside the set streets a famous Dubrovnik landmark has been faithfully reproduced. The crew built a whole city street. At one end there's the gate, and at the other the front of the Red Keep. In between there are all manner of buildings. The most notable are the city gates and the King's Landing dome. However, as you can see in these leaked photos, the set has been modified to appear burned down with a huge breach between demolished towers. The city gate has been obliterated and the towers that once protected it have fallen. The Night King has burned down a huge portion of the capital, including his landing dome, using his undead dragon. How can I know for sure that this is the Night King's doing, rather than the result of Cersei using wildfire and burning down the entire city? Even though Burnt King's Landing set would seem to support the theory in which Cersei burns down the entire city, the answer is no. Wildfire is not the reason this part of King's Landing set is being burned down, it's dragonfire. How do I know? It's simply due to the fact that the show built a King's Landing set mainly to do light pyrotechnics. It means that some parts of the capital will be burned down by a dragon, as dragonfire in Game of Thrones is portrayed by light pyrotechnics. The Night King's dragon that is responsible for a huge portion of the capital being burned down has also been spotted on this King's Landing set. Yes, dragons are visual effects magic mostly. However, when performers have to interact with dragons, a number of methods are used to make it work. For example, if Dany has to touch the dragon's head, any dragon head shaped object will do, such as this one was used when the dragons were babies. This is the Night King touching Viserion's head in the last season. If actors have to actually mount a dragon, part of its spine has to be physically recreated, which is exactly what its massive contraption on King's Landing set is. This massive contraption being on this very same set means that the Night King will at some point decide to land in King's Landing, perhaps in the final episode. I've known that dragons will eventually fly over King's Landing, as Bran saw it in his vision of the future. However, I did not quite expect it to be the Night King flying Viserion. I expected it to be Dany riding Drogon. Perhaps it will be both. Also remember this, while prophecies in Game of Thrones don't literally come true, visions on the other hand do, meaning that the remaining two Bran's visions from the future, the shadow of a dragon flying over King's Landing, and the one in which Bran sees King's Landing in winter with an empty throne room that has its roof blown off, will come true in the final season. Whichever dragon shows up and whoever rides it, Cersei will be ready. Qyburn has made new Scorpion Ballista for his queen as seen in this leaked photo from King's Landing set. It's not only dragons who will clash above King's Landing, the entire living side will be there as well, as the entire army of the dead. The Unsullied and the Dothraki also visit King's Landing, or at least a little of them survived Battle of Winterfell. Here you can see the Unsullied and what's left of the Dothraki marching towards King's Landing gates. Cersei probably intends to use wildfire and burn the entire King's Landing to the ground, once the living and the dead start fighting inside her city, and that way get rid of all her enemies. It's possible that by this point Cersei, Dany and Jon Snow have teamed up and are fighting the White Walkers together, but it's just as likely that Cersei won't see the reason, and Dany has commanded her armies to assault the city walls. The final battle between the living and the dead will take place at King's Landing. Judging by the leaked photos, judging by the destroyed King's Landing set, at first it seems like the Night King has won the final battle. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that. Of course that the final battle between the Night King and the living in King's Landing will leave the capital quite a bit ruined, but it doesn't mean that the Night King has won. As of right now, these are the spoilers we have regarding the Night King in the final season of Game of Thrones. We don't know how he'll be defeated, or if he is going to be defeated for that matter. There are many endgame possibilities for the Night King. Will he simply be defeated, or will he be healed or cured as many popular theories claim? Or will there be a new pact between the living and the dead as my popular theory suggests, with Dany being part of that pact and becoming the Night's Queen? Or will the Night King and his forces prevail and conquer all of Westeros? There are many possibilities regarding the Night King's endgame, but 3 things regarding his fate are certain. The Night King will not appear in episode 1, the Night King will win the battle for Winterfell in episode 3, and the final battle against the Night King will be at King's Landing, leaving the capital burned down just like Winterfell and in ruins. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.